We are just 7 days away from this very moment where the Chicago Bears will be on the clock for the NFL draft. It's CHGO Bears After Dark with Lance Briggs and Jerry Azumah starting right now. Welcome back to another edition of CHGO Bears After Dark, presented by Circa Sports and Empire Today. We appreciate them, as always, for their support to the program. I am your host, Greg Braggs Jr. Alongside me, as always, is our guy, number 23, Jerry Azumah, and joining us from his humble estates in Arizona, the one, the only, El Boogie, Lance Briggs. How we doing?
Doing good. Got to stay warm out there, fellas. Got to stay warm. All right.
Hey, it's going to be 80 degrees here in Chicago tomorrow.
We have no idea what you're talking about, buddy. It's going to be nice and warm over here.
We ain't soft we ain't soft like you. You gotten soft in your old age.
Hey, listen, we're going to be in the triple digits this week, so in Arizona. So we're taking a little few of our clothes off.
There we go. Hey, well, that's good. That's good, man. Enjoy the warm weather. So let's get it right into it. I mean, obviously the NFL draft is a week away. Finally, we're finally here. Some of the hypothetical conversations are almost over, but you know, we still can get into it. Last time, a couple weeks ago, when we were talking about this, guys, you know, we were obviously really digging into the offensive line and talking about really bolstering the trenches. But I want to ask you guys this, and I'll start with you, Zoom. Ashton Jeanty obviously is at the top of a lot of Bears fans' minds. He puts out an article yesterday where he kind of let NFL teams know, like, hey, you know, there's 11 guys on the field and none of them can take me down. You know, so the kid's got a lot of confidence when he was at the Super Bowl, you know, at Radio Row, kind of talking about comparing his game to Emmitt Smith. That's pretty lofty.
High praise.
Exactly. You know, and there's no shortage of confidence with Ashton Jeanty. So I'm curious where you come from with this, because Ashton talked about playing so many different positions coming up because he just wanted to get on the field and then finds his way to being a running back. And you kind of had a similar story, and in the reverse way, where you were a running back to get on the field and then found your way to eventually being a DB. So I know we're all trench drunk here. We want the offensive line. We want the defensive line.
Yes, we do.
But the idea of Ashton Jeanty being a Chicago Bear.
I mean, I really like it. I mean, he is a very versatile downhill runner. He is a strong, powerful back with a lot of speed as well. So he has all the intangibles to be really good and to be very productive on the football field. You know, I wonder how we can catch the ball out of the backfield, because you have to find ways to kind of utilize his talent and kind of extend that as well. Obviously, you can hand the ball off to him and he can go, you know, downhill, but finding different ways to get him the ball, which is kind of actually like a long handoff, an extension of the run, would be the pass. So to see him in passing situations, you know, and not coming off the football field like on third downs and things like that could be very dynamic. I think that he can do it, but I would like to see more of that. But I don't think that it would be a bad pick for the Chicago Bears. They do need a person that is a bruiser at running back and a person that can demand a lot of attention. And he is that guy as well. I think that he's strong in pass protection as well. So I think that in certain situations, you can keep him on the football field and he can be dynamic for you. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with him. But this is a deep running back class. And there's a lot of great running backs that are available, that will be available. I think that obviously he is at the top. He is the cream of the crop. But you know, if the Bears decided to take him, I don't think it would be a bad situation for them.
No, it's too hard to fight against a guy that, you know, high character, hard worker, you know, and a great player. So I do think he's one of the safer picks that's in the top 15. But I know, Lance, that if they do take Ashton Genty and I start cheering at the draft party next week at 115 Bourbon Street, Corey Wooten might pop my head off because he's made me promise that I have to stay with the trenches no matter what, because last year I got lost in the sauce with Roma Dunze. So I don't know where you stand with this. Are you willing to accept Ashton Genty as a Bear, or are you going to be mugging me like Corey if we're losing our minds over it?
Listen, fellas, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. In order to get Ashton Genty, he'd have to be somewhere in the second round, available in that second round, and I just don't see him being available at that time. No. I want us to protect whoever it is that we give that ball to. So the priority for, in my opinion, needs to be that left tackle. It is the one glaring need that we have on that offensive line, on an offensive line that was abysmal last year. They were horrific. We were trying to find different ways to plug and play. Our quarterback was hit more than any other quarterback in the NFL, and we have to make that change before we can go after the commercial, beauty buy. Yeah. I like Ashton Genty. I think he's a hell of a player, but we got to get that left tackle fixed before we move forward.
No, it's fair. It's fair. There's no question. I mean, there's a lot of running backs in this class, and the Bears obviously need to continue to bolster their offensive line. So, let me ask you this, Lance. I know you've got your eye on a few different things, and we've talked about some different players, but, we haven't talked in a couple weeks. So, where's your mind space at when it comes to the draft, which is just 7 days away?
Hey, listen, how about this? We got a couple scenarios here, and let's go in Zoom. Let's say for you and Braggs, I give you the first pick in that first round. You tell me what your next pick would be if this is the first pick. Okay. So let's say round one, Armand Mimbu is available. We take him with our first pick at number 10. Now moving into that second pick, what would your pick be moving on from that?
So my pick would probably be a running back. I'm looking at, there's a lot of running backs that are in this class, and it's a deep class. But I don't know exactly who they might have their eyes on. Obviously, Genty would be gone at that point. But if this is second pick and we get a person to sew up the trenches, actually, I'm gonna look at the trenches again to see if there's anybody that I might need around there, because you can always build up your trenches. You need that on an NFL team. And we've gotten to some bad situations, the Chicago Bears, over the past, couple of years with the trenches being extremely weak. So if we can find a person that they believe in, that they trust in, to fill those voids, whether it's on the offensive side or on the defensive side, I think that they should attack that immediately. But if that's not there, then I think that the running back should be next, because, in this scheme, I think that the running back is going to be very big. And if you look at Detroit last year, the running back game is tremendous. And I feel like the Bears, this time around will put a lot of effort into their running attack, which I love. And it's getting back to the essence of football, I think, with a good running back and a good running system. So I think they go running back. Yeah, I mean, you could potentially get Caleb Johnson from Iowa, who certainly was a talented, very talented, running back, and so that's certainly an option there. I don't know. I'm probably going to be looking at defensive line, because I'm going to stay trench drunk, right? All right. We're going to go offensive line in the first round. Let's go defensive line in the second round and continue to bolster that. Looking at some defensive tackles, Tyleik Williams, defensive tackle out of Ohio State, a guy that, 6'3", 327 pounds, ran a 4.6. To me, get a little burst in there, get a little youth on the interior of the defensive line, because you got Grady Jarrett, you've got Andrew Billings, and those guys are obviously on the veteran side of things. Obviously, Gervon Dexter is somebody that's still on the come up, and hopefully he can continue to make that next jump in his career. But I'm going to continue to bolster that defensive line. That's probably where I would go. I love it.
Or what about Shamar Stewart? What about Shamar Stewart still available?
Bears fans, for whatever reason, Lance, aren't very high on Shamar Stewart because of his lack of production. Like, he's got the skill set, he's got the intangibles, but from what the tape shows, he couldn't, for whatever reason, finish plays to where he could rack up the stats to show his production. So from what you've seen with Shamar Stewart, what would you say to those people that wouldn't be big on that move?
I would say we passed on a defensive tackle from Georgia a few years ago that's now playing for the Philadelphia Eagles. And he was an extremely dominant defensive tackle. And people say, hey, sometimes he doesn't finish, sometimes, this or that. Well, if you watch in the Super Bowl, and you saw a 4 down lineman from the Philadelphia Eagles that absolutely destroyed a Kansas City offensive line. And Kansas City offensive line, I mean, they're full of all-pro type players. And they absolutely dismantled them from a guy that they say, he doesn't necessarily finish plays, but he's athletically gifted.
Yeah. I mean, well, I don't know if Shamar Stewart's going to be there in the second round when the Bears pick at 39. But his teammate, Nick Scorton, defensive end, might be the guy that is there. And so maybe that, from a fit standpoint, I think both Shamar Stewart and Nick Scorton check the box for a Dennis Allen defense. And maybe it is, like I say, defensive tackle, but maybe it's defensive end that the Bears, they did, bring in Dio Odangbo, the defensive end from the Indianapolis Colts, who can slide inside. And then you've got, obviously, Montez Sweat and Austin Booker and kind of some, hodgepodge of guys that, trying to fit who's going to be that guy on the edge. Maybe it's edge over defensive tackle that they need to be looking at in the second round.
Yeah, I mean, it's still all the defensive line, which I like. And getting another guy into the rotation won't be a bad thing, especially if they're young and you put them in pressure situations to see what they can actually do. So I like that. I mean, they should go with the non-sexy picks, which is the trenches. But, I mean, if you look at the Super Bowl and you look at teams that are dominating in the NFL, it's always about the trenches and what they can do up front. So the Bears can't get into a situation like they've done before with, limping in and having a weak offensive or defensive line. They have to make sure that they sew that up immediately. And they have an opportunity to actually do that. So hopefully they do the right thing.
Yeah.
What about this? What about this, fellas? Let's say that the top tackles were taken off and in that top 10, and somehow Mason Graham fell into our laps. We take Mason Graham first. What now would be your direction as far as your next pick?
I'm still going running back.
I'm going and I'm going the other way. See, he's not paying attention in class here, Professor Briggs. We are staying trench drunk. So I am going offensive line, the tackle from Minnesota. If he falls to 39,
Ariante Ursary.
Thank you. I didn't want to butcher the name, but that's where I'm going. Offensive line, need a left tackle, because Braxton Jones, Ben Johnson came out at the owners' meetings and said he's still going to be limited at training camp. He won't even be practicing. He'll be the guy on the hill, the lonely guy on the hill trying to get back in shape and get ready for it. Your
guy might be available. Will Campbell might be available in the second round.
No way.
I think he's going to be gone.
Will Campbell's I don't know. Now it sounds like he's, there's Bears fans fighting me at picking him at 10. It sounds like there's a chance Mike Vrabel might take him at 4. We'll have to find out next week. That's kind of the fun of the draft, right? You just never know who's going to fall. And I doubt it's Will Campbell, but somebody is going to fall, right?
Somebody will fall.
Like initially early on in the draft, James Pierce, the defensive end from Tennessee, was somebody that people thought maybe the Bears might be interested in at 10. Now he might be a guy that falls completely out of the first round. I look at the other guy, Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle from Michigan, played alongside Mason Graham. He could be a guy that goes in the top 15 because he's got really good intangibles, or he could fall to 39 to the Bears, and then I'm running to the podium to draft a guy like Kenneth Grant.
And don't forget, you got Josh Connerly, left tackle from Oregon, that will be available in the second round. He's a massive guy. He's a massive guy, and if we're looking for quality, you're going to get quality in the first 2 rounds. You're going to get quality in the first 3 rounds.
So maybe for me, because I like this exercise, Lance, like for me, it's either O-line, D-line, take your pick one way or the other, first and second round for me. And then when I get to the third round, that's where I start to look at running back, or no, not third round, third pick, I should say, the second round. Because you go 39, then you go 41. So now you're back to back. So maybe it is a guy like Caleb Johnson. Steven, I don't know if there's any kind of running backs that you like outside of Caleb Johnson in that second round. Who are you most interested in?
Well, we know the Bears are interested in Travion Henderson.
Right.
And that's someone they were looking at when they went to Ohio State's pro day. I mean, they've got two different guys that you could theoretically look at. Either one's a home run hitter. You really can't go wrong. There's tons of guys. Caleb Johnson, another guy who's, when he gets to his top on speed, he's impossible to catch, but it takes him a while to get there. You really can't go wrong with a lot of those guys at the running back position at the top of the second round.
Yeah, Travion Henderson's an interesting one for sure. I don't think Quinshon Judkins is going to make it to 39 or 41 for that matter. But you never know. I mean, both those guys out of Ohio State, both very, very talented running backs. We actually had a chance yesterday to talk to CJ West, the defensive tackle from Indiana, who, man, explosive. Not just on the field, but in the interview. It was a lot of fun to talk to. He's a local kid, too. So maybe I go O-line, then D-line, then D-tackle, my first three ways. I don't even – as much as we talk about running back, Lance, I'm still sticking with my philosophy that Corey has beat into my brain over the last year that we are going to bolster these trenches.
Yeah.
Okay, now what about this? You could have Malachi Starks and Xavier Watts as safeties. And our reason why I bring this up is because of some of the issues that we had, last year. Is our guy going to be coming back? Is he going to be? How's his head?
Brisker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
actually think that that's a serious point of emphasis for the Chicago Bears. Also, is safety. They have to address that. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what happened. I mean, Brisker missed 12 games last year from a concussion. You know what I'm saying? So, there's some question marks I have about that. I mean, I really want to know what the deal was to miss 12 games off of a concussion. It seems like it wasn't clear, but it might be a area of concern, and I think that that's a place that they can attack in the draft as well. I mean, there are some really good safeties in this draft later on, and I think that they can scoop up one and really bolster their defensive backfield.
Yeah, obviously you have Malachi Starks from Georgia, but he's going to go in the first round more than likely. I'm a Notre Dame fan, so Xavier Watts is
good.
He's a guy that's always around the football. Mm-hmm. Maybe like a Chris Harris, type.
Yeah.
Somebody that is reliable. Maybe didn't jump off the page with all the measurables or the, testing. I'm not entirely sure how Xavier Watts tested at the combine. I don't personally care because I watched how he played at Notre Dame, and he was a great player. Andrew Makuba from Texas, I know, is somebody the Bears have talked to. And then I think the guy that's interesting is from South Carolina, Nick Emanwari. Mm-hmm. His RAS score, again, another thing that I could care less about, but he actually has the highest RAS score, they call it RAS, of all time. Yeah. He's literally number one of, and so I don't know if that's
what was that created in 2024?
I don't.
What is the RAS?
A couple of years ago it was created, and now it's become a template for fans to point to because it basically just kind of, for this caveman explanation of this, it gives, it lists your height, the way you test it in certain ways, your weight, your length, and kind of gives you different grades on all the way across the board. Steven, I don't know if you were going to add into this.
Well, I was going to say, Lance, I'm with you on addressing the safety position. Kevin Byard's another one. He's going to be 32 when the season starts. Mm-hmm. They could have cut him and saved $7 million. They opted to keep him. Nick Emanwari is a guy, though, that if you want to get him, you're probably going to have to trade up from one of those 2 second-round picks because he's going to go in the first round. He's very highly touted.
Yeah. And then the other guy that I really liked at the combine, somebody that you could kind of feel the vibe, was Sebastian Castro out of Iowa. A little bit undersized maybe, but when you watch his tape and then you combine that with just the way he carries himself, it's just somebody not to be trifled with. That's kind of the impression I got of Sebastian Castro.
Is that in the RAS too?
That is not, no, the way, if you intimidate me at the podium at the combine, it did not make the RAS scoring list, but we could get the Bragg scoring list, and that's where we'd probably find it. So probably a very good exercise there. I think both of us, Lance, are step for step with Cam Scattaboo in the third round. I'd have, if we go trenches and a safety in those first 3 picks, and now you're looking for that running back in the next round, I am totally fine looking at, Cam Scattaboo. Obviously, there's a lot of guys from talking about R.J. Harvey from Central Florida, and then Stevens' guy is Damian Martinez out of Miami. And the Bears don't have a 4th-round pick. So that's the other thing you got to think about when the Bears get to that 3rd round.
Yeah.
They might have to reach for a certain position because they know when they get to day 3, they're not picking again until the 5th round.
Yeah.
So if there's a certain position they haven't addressed at that point, that might be where they have to attack a little bit.
I also think that linebacker might sneak in there too. They've lost a couple of things, couple of key positions at linebacker, obviously with depth. But to build up the depth, I mean, there's some linebackers in there too in this draft that can be very productive as well. So they can lean towards that direction too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. There's enough talent. To me, there's enough talent in those first 3-4 rounds, that I think you can address most of the needs the Bears have, and then, especially with the linebackers, because we do need depth there. You can certainly fill those positions with moving into that 5th round or later. But I think you can address most of the Bears' needs right there without having to move forward, move back. There's somebody there within that range that will suffice.
And I'll say this much for all the criticism that Ryan Poles gets, and some of it is very justified. I certainly had my criticisms of not addressing the center position last year when there was a lot of really good centers, in my opinion, in the draft that you could try to develop. But at the same time, the 2 positions that we're not talking about for obvious reasons, but then also the rest of the league doesn't really seem to be talking about is quarterback and wide receiver. There doesn't seem to be as many guys at those positions in those first few rounds. And, so I think while there was some frustrations, obviously Lance had his frustrations for how the team was built, Corey as well, and a lot of fans, how the team got built backwards. But at the same time, it kind of all, maybe this is my fan rationalization, but maybe it all worked out where they got the quarterback and the receiver last year. This isn't a quarterback receiver heavy draft, and now they can address the trenches this year. And all we had to go through was a simple 10-game losing streak to get there.
Oh, wait, hold on a minute, Bragg. we destroyed the season last year. Are you kidding me? You ask any Chicago Bears fan, we destroyed the offseason. Woo! We got a wide receiver. Woo! We got a quarterback. Woo! We're going to win a championship. Yeah, okay.
I tried to slide that in there before the break, as Mark Carman would affectionately call me, the honey bear of the CHGO Bears podcast here. So hit that like button while you're hanging out. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We appreciate you guys hanging out on another edition of CHGO Bears After Dark. We're going to get to some contract extensions here that the Bears have just made here in the last few days and even yesterday as well. But first, want to give a shout out to our sponsors. And that first sponsor up today is Empire Today. Just like your favorite team needs a home field advantage, your team needs a home floor advantage, and Empire Today can help you get it. Empire Today has flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. We've all been to those big box stores. You wander around endlessly in the aisles, then somehow you're hauling all these materials home yourself, looking for an installer and coordinating everything, and that's just a lot to take on. Those big box stores might have a flooring department, but the person helping you with flooring may have been laying brick yesterday and could be stocking light bulbs tomorrow. So you got to be careful who you're listening to, because Empire Today lives and breathes flooring, and they will be with you every step of the way. It is a whole different ballgame with Empire Today. The flooring experts bring it right to your home. pick the right flooring and the right colors for your space. See how it looks with your furniture in your house. It's just that easy. Get those precise measurements and have all your questions answered. So schedule a free in-home estimate today because things are just better at home. CHGO listeners can receive a, get this, $350 discount when using the promo code CHGO. Yes, you heard that right. Jerry Azumah, a $350 discount with code CHGO. Restrictions apply. Empire Today /CHGO for full details. How about that, Lance?
That's nice. Listen, I need floors, and I need floors right now.
That's right. Absolutely. Hit up Empire Today for your floors. And also hit up Circa Sportsbook for all your betting needs. We appreciate Circa all day long. Whatever the sport, the app to bet is Circa Sports Illinois. Circa Sports, it's sports betting the way it should be. Circa Sports Illinois has high betting limits, low holds, and exceptional customer service. Bet on all your favorite teams in every game this season. Spreads, props, futures, or in-game. Circa Sports has it. Fund and bet like a pro from anywhere, anytime in Illinois. And obviously, you have the draft coming up. You have baseball season is underway. And then, of course, the NBA and NHL playoffs as well. So make sure you're using Circa Sportsbook to get your bets in for all those things. Download your new bookie today at circasports.com. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, we're moving things along here on the CHGO Bears After Dark edition here today with Lance Briggs and Jerry Azumah, and we are going to get into some contract extensions, and we're going to start with you, Lance, and, of course, with your expertise in the linebacker department. TJ Edwards signs a 2-year, $20 million extension. The deal includes a $16.6 million fully guaranteed and extends his stay with the Bears through the 2027 season. Got a little smile on your face there, Lance. Are you happy to see this deal get done for TJ?
I love when linebackers get paid, okay? And listen, TJ, he, and from the very beginning, I thought he had kind of a slow start. But once he started humming, you saw a very big difference in the defensive play. I think he's one of the most consistent players on the defense right now. I still think there's a few things that he can obviously take it to another level. And I think with another 2 years, he'll be able to do that. But that also comes with having a great pass rush, great guys that are up front. The greater they are, everything starts up front, fellas. And for everybody, I must understand this. That's when we it's why it's time to get away from the sexy picks and get these guys, because it starts up front. The greater they are up front, the greater we are on the back seven. Everybody else benefits off of what they do up front.
No question about it. I mean, your thoughts on TJ
Exactly
Edwards?
right. I mean, I really like this signing. I like this signing for the locker room as well. I think that he's a big-time locker room and big-time presence in there. And also, he's almost like a quarterback on the defensive side of the football. So he knows the alignments and the assignments of a lot of different people, and he's always around the football, so he leads by example as well. So I really like this sign. I think is really good for the Chicago Bears. And Lance, you're exactly right. It starts up front. If your front is really good, then everybody in the back eats, and they eat really, really good. And I really think that they're getting things in the right place, and they're moving in the right direction right now. And they're also signing impact players. Like TJ is an impact player, and it's good to get people like that signed right away and lock them up so that they don't have to worry about anything except going out there and executing and being the best defensive player that they can be. So I really, really like this signing.
I'd really like for the Chicago guys, TJ, Cole Kmet, I'd really like to see them in a position where they're helping lead the Chicago Bears to winning seasons. They're great stories, but one of the things that's unfortunate about some of these great stories and these kids that come from Illinois that are playing for the Chicago Bears is they're in this wave of down, another set of down years for the Chicago Bears. So I really like to see them part of the turnaround, the homegrown products part of winning tradition in Chicago.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it sends the message, too, that, like, if you go out there and you ball, you will be rewarded, and I think that that's very important. Like, TJ's been out there for a while. He's been balling, and he is definitely getting rewarded. And guys in the locker room, they see that. They understand that. And they start thinking to themselves, you know what? I need to be that next person to go out there and ball and make an impact. And I think this will send shockwaves throughout the locker room and through the team as well.
Sure.
So this is a great signing.
It is. I mean, TJ Edwards always around the football, makes plays. I mean, if you watch that London game, the effort he showed to
everywhere.
force that fumble, that's the kind of stuff that made you guys great. Always rallying. That was something Lovey always preached. And, now Dennis Allen kind of gets to reap some of those rewards of some of the veterans on that team that really know how to play. And hopefully they can bring in some guys here in the draft. And obviously they already did in free agency with Grady Jarrett and Dio Dangbo. That's only going to add fuel to that fire. Another guy that got paid, Jerry, is in your jurisdiction of things, and that's Kyler Gordon, cornerback. He gets a 3-year, $40 million extension with $31.25 million guaranteed. How about that?
Make it rain.
Yeah, he now becomes the NFL's highest paid slot corner at a $13.3 million AAV. So your thoughts on the DBs getting paid here and up in the ceiling?
Love it. Absolutely love it. First and foremost, we talk about building through the draft. Building through the draft. You hear that a lot and constantly. And Kyler Gordon is the guy that they built through the draft.
Ryan Poles' first pick.
They identified the talent. They went after him, and then they put him into the fire right away, and he responded. He is an impact player. He makes a lot of plays. He's always around the football. He likes playing closer to the line of scrimmage and the box. So this is the perfect dynamic for him. And it's a situation where they identified the talent through the draft. They put him on the football field, and now he's being rewarded. So that's what you want to see. You want to see the organization and the team come together and identify these picks in the draft and stick with those picks throughout, because they can be extremely valuable. Develop them as well as you can, and then put them out there in the fire and make sure that they can make plays. And Kyler Gordon is one of those guys. I think this is an excellent signing. It's a signing that is needed also, that they took care of it right away. And now they just locked him up for like another 4 years. Another 3 years. So this is a great situation for the Chicago Bears and the organization as a whole.
Yeah, Lance.
One of the things you look for, especially in the box is a nickel. Obviously you want a nickel that can cover, but can your nickel play in the box? Can he play in that run, versus the run? Or is he going to be a liability? Where is he going to be a liability at? And I think Kyler Gordon really fits the bill because he plays a lot on the other side of the line of scrimmage. He's very physical. Yes.
Right. And we understand that a lot, because I play the slot also. And the slot is a serious position. You're covering a really good wide receiver that has a two-way go on you. And then at the same time, you're essentially a linebacker that's in the box. So you are called upon for run support. You know what I'm saying? And that run support is serious when you're in that box.
Well, and sometimes pass rush support.
Exactly. So, with Kyler, he likes to mix things up. You know what I'm saying? He's not scared to be in that box and get physical. He's not scared to blitz, and take a shot at the quarterback. So he has all the intangibles that you need at that position. And plus, he's just a ball hawk, and he's around the ball constantly. So this sign is excellent for the Chicago Bears.
So who was what team did they play last year in the preseason where they had the third string quarterback out there, or second or third string? And
it was the Bengals.
The Bengals. Yeah. And Kyler Gordon just lit him up.
Yeah.
That was
webs all over the place. That's what I want to see. The more of this. I want to see a lot of that.
And to your point about being in the box and making tackles, he had 75 tackles last year, including 4 for a loss, 5 pass breakups, and a forced fumble. Only missed 2 games last year, so relatively healthy for the most part in a very violent sport.
Yeah.
He's got that length, right? He obviously shows off that athleticism every time he's doing his Spider-Man flips and everything of that nature, but kid can play. Yeah. Now he gets paid. I'm curious from your guys' perspective as guys that have, transitioned with different coaches and things of that nature. You bring in a new defensive coordinator. Your head coach was your defensive coordinator and play caller by all standards last year with Matt Eberflus. Dennis Allen comes in, and 2 guys get paid before they really even play under that D coordinator. That has to speak to who they are as players. Yeah. But are you surprised that they gave that money before they show what they're capable of within that Dennis Allen
I'm not
team?
Surprised at all. The film speaks for itself. I think it's a great testament to the coaching staff to go out there and identify the talent that they have currently on their team to see how it will fit in this new scheme. Now, we don't know. It's all going to be brand new,
Right.
but some things are going to be similar, but it's still football. And it's and with Dennis Allen, it's all about the matchups and winning the one-on-one battles. So with Kyler, like I said, I think that he brings a lot of intangibles to the game, and I really, really like this signing.
Lance, how about – yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, when I remember when Lovey took over, there were players that were already kind of in place, and when you step in and you say, okay, I have a Brian Urlacher and I have a Mike Brown. All right. These guys are going to be, it wouldn't matter what defensive coordinator's coming in. These two guys are going to be a part of this defense, and so when you step in and you say, and you look at the current defense and you say, okay, we have a TJ Edwards and we have a Kyler Gordon. It doesn't matter what defensive scheme you're going to run, whatever it is, these two guys are going to be a part of it. So I really like that. The signing, it makes a lot of sense, and it doesn't matter what defensive scheme you're in. They still make sense signing those guys.
Right.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, when you talk about lighting a fire under the rest of that locker room, when you see guys like Jalen Johnson, Cole Kmet, Kyler Gordon,
all getting
TJ
signed.
Edwards,
Yep.
they all got paid, right? They all got took care of because they showed what they were capable on the field and behind the scenes, when no one's watching. That's sometimes the most important thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious from your guys' perspective, like, who are those next players that need to be those guys that are paying attention to this and trying to get their money?
Yeah, I mean, I would say Brisker would be one of them at safety. Make sure that he is healthy, but when he is healthy, he is very impactful on that football field, and I think that he is trending in the right direction. Just want to make sure that he is okay, though. But another point about this is that it's always about getting back into the draft and making those picks, and then actually developing those guys into be critical starters for your football team.
Yep.
So the guys that you mentioned, I mean, they're guys that were drafted by the Chicago Bears, and they've identified the talent, even though it's a new regime. But they've identified this talent, and they're making this whole thing say, you know what? It's all about this talent that we've gotten, and it makes sense, and we're going to reward these guys because we know they can go out there and make some plays.
Yeah. Steven, is there anybody for you? Because, I'm looking at two of the younger guys, Jervon Dexter and Tyreek Stevenson. There it is, Lance.
Tyreek Stevenson. He's got all the talent in the world. He's coming off a year where he made one of the biggest mistakes, that a young player can make. And it wasn't just that one. Once that one was there, now it's such a focal point on everything that he's doing. I mean, if he's throwing an extra, if he's throwing a punch, if he's in these skirmishes constantly, the viewpoint, everybody's looking at you and why are you making these silly mistakes? You're walking off of practice, you're walking off the sideline, your body language speaks loudly. There are things that and for him to still be here, excuse me, speaks loudly about him humanizing him and his ability to play football, and the Bears organization saying, listen, we have a player here that I believe will mature into the player we need him to be.
That's exactly it, is that maturity level, and put him into that fire as well. I mean, we know what he can do on the football field, and some things went extremely bad for him, but now we got to see how he bounces back. You know what I'm saying? That's the important part is the bounce back. How does he bounce back from doing something that he probably shouldn't have been doing, and everybody's pointing the finger at him and the spotlight is on him? What are you going to do after the fact? And I think that he did fairly well, but I really like Stevenson because I think that he's coachable, and I think that this coaching staff will get him in right situations to be extremely productive on the football field. So I'm eager for him for this year.
He is coachable from a talent standpoint. The question is he coachable from a keep that energy in the right place? He's poking dudes in the eye. The Texans game, he pokes this dude in the eye, gets a penalty for it, and people don't remember, but that because of the fateful play in the Hail Mary, like 5 minutes before in the fourth quarter, he poked a dude in the eye, got a flag. It ended up not costing them in that moment, but it was such a boneheaded play. So it's like, can he be coached up to not do those things in those moments? I don't know if you guys ever played with guys like this, that their competitiveness, because he's like this at training camp.
Mm-hmm.
He gets in people's faces at camp. He's one of the more competitive guys.
I like it.
I like that too. But how do you harness that?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very talented to be able to poke a guy in the eye in live motion, in real time. Like it's connect. Wow.
Yeah. Or Gardner Johnson snatching people's chains, you know.
It's going to be up to the coaching staff, though. I think that the coaching staff has to put him in right situations to win. I think that he's learned a lot this past season. You know, like I said, there were a lot of things that did not go well for Stevenson at all, but he figured out ways to bounce back. You know what I'm saying? He always bounced back, which I like. So he's not a type of person that's going to get down on himself too much. He might get down a little bit, but he's going to go out there and try to make the next play. And a couple of times he made really good plays. You know what I'm saying? So like, he'll
knock you on your ass.
Yeah, he definitely will. He loves the game of football, but I think a year under his belt is a good thing. And I think that he's going to be very productive for this season.
One of the tough things I think some of the outside, some of the fans don't understand about, you know, being a playmaker in this league is you have to put that last play behind. You have to put behind what happened, you know, and so a lot of times that can be misunderstood as he doesn't care. He doesn't care. No, you go through that gamut. So if you make a bad play, your teammates are telling you about it. You go off to the sideline. Your position coach tell you about it. Your D coordinator, OC, telling you about it. Your head coach tells you about it. But it's also, I have to be ready for this next play mentally. So sometimes it looks like guys have checked out as far as what happened in that last play. Oh, it was big. I made a big mistake. But I have to get ready to go out on this field, you know, in 2 seconds. If I am dwelling on what just happened, it is going to affect how I go out here and play. So a lot of times we have a playmaker's mentality where it's always like, shoot, I screwed up. Damn it. Okay, let me go out here and make a play. You know what I mean? Let me focus on this next play and what they're doing.
Yeah. And to your point, he finished the season strong. I don't think fans realize it because they were on a 10-game losing streak.
Right.
And everybody was mad at him because he helped start that 10-game losing streak.
He kicked it off.
I root for Tyreek. He might. I don't know who's running his social media or if he's got some rabbit ears. But after the Commanders game, he blocked me on Twitter. Maybe he didn't like the Taco Bell tweets, Lance. I don't know. He doesn't. I don't, like I said, he's probably got a guy running his thing, but like I actually am a huge Tyreek Stevenson fan.
Yeah,
because
he can play.
Steven will tell you, I'm one of the biggest shit talkers you will meet. Like I love talking, and so I don't mind it. But then it's like, yeah, it's easy for me to sit on my couch. Then when you get the penalty, like, no, not like that. Like, yeah, talk crap, but not like that. But no, I mean, I think Al Harris being in that DB room is going to be great for him because Al was a smack talker.
Yeah.
But he was also one of the best players on the field, you know, or somebody that you always had to, take account for. So I think guys like that are going to have a better chance of getting through to him. And, you know, you saw what Al Harris did down in Dallas for those guys. And, you know, guys like Deron Bland coming out of nowhere and how many pick six he gets. And I also think the defensive scheme is something that's going to help Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, and Tyreek Stevenson. These guys are better in man coverage. Yeah. If you watch them at camp, you know, they'll put in Eberflus's defense, you know, you're playing back, right? In the season, it's 3rd and 14, and they're playing back. Now they give up a pass, first down. Well, at camp, you'll see them in one-on-ones, you know, and a lot of times you'll see them play up on the guy, obviously, and not let them get that free release. These are 3 very physical, aggressive corners. And so now, in theory, you have a defensive scheme with Dennis Allen where you're going to be aggressive up front, you're going to be attacking the quarterback, and your defensive backs are going to be allowed to play man and get up on these receivers.
If this season goes the way I think it will go, I think that there's going to be a lot of interceptions on the back end. I mean, if the defensive line could be disruptive up front and win their one-on-one matchups, like we said before or earlier, everybody back behind them eats. And I feel like with this pressured situation, this pressured defense, they're going to be blitzing a lot. It's going to be coming from all different angles, but they're going to demand a lot from their defensive line to just win one-on-one matchups. Like beat the guy in front of you. I don't care how you do it. Just do it and get to the quarterback and be aggressive. And when things like that start to happen and start clicking, then the back end, they can just be ball hawks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like they can play a little more relaxed and not super stiff or tight. They can just be nice and relaxed and just read where the quarterback is going and then just start gambling and taking some chances and making some plays.
Yeah. You don't have to worry about those double moves. You have to approach every year defensively. You got to approach every year as if the offense has to throw that ball in under 4 seconds.
Yeah,
that's how you want to approach it. You approach it like that, then your DBs they're not worried about the double triple moves. The ball has to come out in that time frame that's in your head. It has to come out. So now I'm getting ready to go play the ball. Now, when you start getting into that season or into that to preseason, and you can't dial up any pressure, and you get into week 1, you can't dial up any pressure. Now you're going to have to start to tell your DBs, listen, we have to play off a little bit more. We have to, because now we have to worry about the triple moves. But you can't go in there approaching the season that way. You got to go into it. You got to make sure that those guys up front ensure that ball comes out within under 4 seconds or a sack.
Which is why we're going to draft what, Steven? Trenches.
The trenches.
Come on,
trenches.
Steven.
The trenches.
What are we
doing
doing
something
here?
else over
The
What are
trenches.
we doing over here? No, you're 100%
I was going to
right.
say Genty.
Yeah, the Ashton Genty. Yeah. No, and you also can't depend on Will Levis to just throw you behind the back gift to Tyreek Stevenson. One more player that we haven't discussed with the contract extension talk is a veteran and somebody they just brought in with Joe Thuney. They give Jonah Jackson a 3-year contract extension as soon as he gets here. Another guy that comes here, hasn't played, obviously played for Ben Johnson in Detroit, has a quick little stop with the Rams, doesn't work out because of injury. Now he's here. He gets a 3-year deal. But Joe Thuney, you bring in as your all-pro left guard from the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's still on a 1-year deal. And that makes me personally a little nervous. Adam was sitting here yesterday telling me that we should let this play out, but I don't know. Because like he compared it to Keenan Allen's situation last year where, hey, they didn't give him a contract extension. He was a 1-year deal guy. It didn't work out. Now he's moved on. I don't know how you feel about this, but personally, I'd like to see a Joe Thuney contract extension before training camp gets here, because to me, right now, as it stands, he's arguably, maybe not even arguably, your best player on the team. And he's also, when you talk about a leadership and a winning mentality, he checks those boxes that this team and that locker room desperately needs.
I think that's very important. I mean, those boxes that he checks. But you are right. He's kind of like that Keenan Allen type of guy. So he's an older gentleman, obviously, very skillful in what he does, and he brings a lot of different things to the table. But I don't know if he needs that long-term extension right away. I think that we need to plug him in to see how he does and what he does with the organization and like the younger guys to set them up. And if they start clicking and things start happening, then I think that the extension will be on the table and they can address it then. But for right now, I think it's fine where it's at.
Yeah.
Braggs, if you're an all-pro guy, all right, you've won Super Bowls and you are, I'd say, a little bit older. All right, you become a free agent, or you come over to an organization. Let's just call them the Staleys, okay? We're the Staleys, okay? And you come in and you say, okay, this organization's been losing for a long time. They want to bring a player like me in to kind of help change the culture, but I'm also going to be one of the better players on this team. You come into this organization, and that first year, it is just it's the opposite of everything that you have been involved in, and at the end of that year, like, you're at a point in your career where it's like, man, listen, I've won Super Bowls. Like, I've made my money. What I want to do is I want to compete to win. And if that culture isn't in that locker room, or it's not there, why would you want to continue to be a part of that culture rather than go elsewhere? And because I see this as a very much a prove it type contract, where it's a prove it for both sides. The Bears know that this guy can play. This guy's also feeling out, is this organization moving in the right direction? Is this where I want to be, or do I want to move somewhere else?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that. I got the itchy trigger finger. Poles is passing out bags, and I'm just trying to I'm trying to help the players, So this is, no, I'm kidding.
Well, Tooney's 32 years old. He's only missed 2 games in his career. So that's the big difference between him and Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen had this long injury history. With Joe Tooney, he's going to be on the field.
Yeah, he's been solid.
Yeah, now the question is, for me, is maybe he wants to find out if he wants to be here. He got traded here. This wasn't his choice.
Yeah.
So maybe he wants to see how he likes Chicago. Maybe the Bears have approached him. We don't know this yet.
Yeah. Well, they better have.
Trenches, baby.
That's right. The trenches.
Trenches.
I am trench drunk, and I might be actually drunk next week at 115 Bourbon Street. Make sure you guys come out to our draft party. Very excited to see everybody on Thursday night and Friday night, April 24th and 25th from 6 to 10 p.m. both nights. With your ticket, you get all you can eat and all you can drink. And if you're a diehard, you get 20% off on that ticket. So make sure you go to allchgo.com/events to see how you can get those tickets. There's a QR code here on your screen if you're watching on YouTube. But make sure you guys come on out. Tickets are going fast. Limited tickets available for Thursday, Friday. Hey, come on out. It's the weekend. You get 2 rounds, you get 3 picks, and you get to hang out with all of us. And Corey Wooten's going to be there as well. So make sure you guys come. Adam Hogue, Mark Carmen will be there as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, Corey, Mr. Robot.
Mr. Robot.
Mr. Roboto.
Mr. Roboto. Yeah, he really needed to try to figure something else out, but I think that's all he could come up with in the moment. Who knows, And then Briggs, you had where you kind of put up the guns, right?
Oh yeah,
you had the guns.
Yeah. That would be you'd be heavily fined for that.
Yeah,
one.
that's you were John Moran before John Moran.
Well, see, what comes into play there is that and we talk about Cam Scatterbo and all that stuff. See, the ASU, it's a pitchfork. Okay, so I've been razzed for saying I've been throwing up pitchfork, which is a big issue because that's not what it is. It's not what it is. Sorry, fellas.
What is
it? 100 degrees out here.
So what is it then?
It was something I learned from one of my best friends, man, growing up. And so it was something he used to do all the time, man. So it was really an ode to him.
Nice. Well, let's finish up with a little bit. A couple weeks ago we had we won't delve any deeper into that ode to your friend there.
Oh, I love how you left that, Lance. I love how you left that.
Oh my gosh, shocking. So yeah, let's finish this up with a little bit of memory lane. Obviously, last time we talked about both of your guys' journey through the process of the combine and evaluations and how the teams were perceiving you. But I want to talk more specifically about the night you guys were drafted. And Lance, I'll start with you. Obviously a 3rd round pick, 68th in the draft, 68th pick in the draft. You've talked a lot here on these shows about, hey, that was the best thing for you and things of that nature. But I just kind of am more curious about that night for you with your family and your memories of that night and kind of where your head was at as that whole thing played out.
Yeah, I was in Elk Grove, California. They had just built a Holiday Inn Express, and so I had a lot of family and friends in town, and or that were hanging out, and we played. I had 2 rooms, so in one room they had the TV with the draft. The other room, which is the room that I was in, I didn't want to see it because I knew how long this day was going to be and how patient you needed to be. So we're playing cards, we're playing dominoes, we're everybody's having some drinks and laughing and all that good stuff. And I can hear from every draft pick, I can hear the room because, of course, in that second round, 11 linebackers get drafted. So in the next room, I can hear, oh, Briggs is way better than him. This is way better than him, So, while I'm playing, I'm like, oh, another linebacker must have got drafted, And so when the moment happened, I got the call everybody in the room, we all celebrated. I hugged my mom, hugged my, my family, friends. There were tears were shared, and the rest is history.
How many teams were calling you throughout that night?
One.
Where were you projected?
No, I was projected to go possible first round, but a lock for the second round. Mm-hmm. So that's what they told me, a lock for the second round, and I ended up going in the third.
They lied.
My agent, they did definitely lied. My agent called and he said, "I think you're going to go to Green Bay, or Cleveland or Kansas City." He was like, possibly Chicago. So one of those teams, but all those teams had picks in the second round. Obviously the Bears took Peanut, but he thought I was definitely going to go to Green Bay, Cleveland, or Kansas City.
Did Peanut ever give you crap for being drafted ahead of you?
No. Listen, the Bears, they were smart to draft Peanut when they did. The order went the way it was supposed to.
Okay. Well, it definitely worked. Yeah, it definitely worked out.
Yeah, once you get drafted, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, 100%. So Zoom, just curious about the same thing. You were drafted in the 5th round.
Yeah.
And you told your story of how you kind of came up as a running back and things of that nature. So just curious about your memories of that great night for you.
Well, it was very different from Lance Briggs. I mean, there was no banquet hall for me or any of that. It was just I was at the University of New Hampshire. I was in my apartment. And the first night, back then I think it was like 3 nights or something like that. So the first night I wasn't projected to go on the first day, but I was.
Network was in your apartment.
Nobody was there. It was crickets. But the first round happened, and I was just like, "Oh, great! It must be great for those guys." And then the second day happened, and I started to get some phone calls, but nothing really materialized from there. And then on the third day, I started getting a lot of calls, but like I was slipping and I was falling down to the 5th round. And then the Chicago Bears called me up and they were like, "We're going to draft you." And I was like, wow, this is exciting. Like, been waiting, a lot of hours and a lot of days for this moment. But, it's going to be great to run with the football. I was a big Walter Payton fan growing up, and that was the reason why I became a running back. And they were just like, "Nah, we want you to be a defensive back." I'm like, a defensive back. So we had a nice little interesting conversation about that, because I initially thought that I was just going to be a running back. I mean, it's the only thing that I know, and it's the thing that got me drafted, and got me to the combine, and got me attention to the NFL. But they had a different mindset. They wanted me to be a defensive back right away. They did not want me to touch the football in any respect. They wanted me to go out there and hit people right away and do things that I've never done ever in my life. So at first I was taken back by that. And we were on the phone for a while now. I was like, "Don't hang up yet. Like, I got more questions now." Wow. I was like, first I'll believe it when I see it. So I didn't see my name across that. And then I was like, "Oh, there you go. Okay.
There you go."
there. All right. So I just got drafted. Cool. But let's talk about this running back thing. And when I first got there was Curtis Enos. So we're going way back. I mean, there's a lot of people that were not born, like all the guys on the football team, basically. But Curtis Enos was the running back then, and James Allen from Oklahoma. But I knew right away that I wasn't going to be a running back from that phone call. And, I was just like, "Well, what are your plans for me? Like, what do you envision me doing?" They were like, "We want you to be a defensive back, in the league, and obviously play special teams, but not as a returner." So I did return the ball back in college, but they were like, "No, we want you to go down there. We want you to hit people. Like, this is your new life now." Wow. And I accepted that. I mean, as a running back, I was physical. I loved the contact. And I had no problem running down there on the football field, hitting people. No, I had no fear of that. But it was just different because I haven't done it, especially at this level, the NFL level. And, being a defensive back was a very tough journey for me. Running forward and running backwards are two totally different things. And then when you're covering the world's best wide receivers, the NFL's best wide receivers, it makes it extremely challenging. But I played with guys like Lance Briggs, what I'm saying, which made it so much easier for me. I mean, me and him had an instant bond on that football field, and We would study together, and then once we got on that football field, I could look at him, he could look at me, and we knew exactly what we had to do and what page we were on. And that was just repetition. It didn't happen overnight, but it began to build and build and build. And then we ended up being like one of the best, defenses, of that time period. So it was a lot of fun. I mean, going back to that night, it was great being drafted from the University of New Hampshire. But that was the day that everything changed for me, and it was incredible.
That is pretty insane, and you have to really, like that's perspective to really speaks to like your talent to be able to go to the NFL level and change a completely different style of everything you've ever learned to that point.
Yeah.
And like you said, to keep up with number one wide receivers.
It was rough.
Yeah. And just keep up with your teammates who are, at their upper echelon, and they're fitted right into what they already know how to do. Mm-hmm. And you're learning on the fly, just trying to keep up, just trying to stay on the roster.
That's right.
And then you not only do that, but then you elevate yourself to a place where you become an integral role of that defense. Yeah. So that's all.
I mean, I started off, as a corner, obviously, but then they moved me into the slot, and I felt extremely comfortable. I like being insulated. I like the run support, but at the same time, I just felt like it was a little easier for me physically to get my hands on wide receivers when I'm closer to the line and be disruptive. That's all I really wanted to do, was be disruptive and make some plays, because we played on an incredible defense with incredible talent all over the place, from linemen to all the way to the secondary. So I just wanted to kind of cement my role into the defense, and I was able to do that for a couple of years, and it was fun doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You also have to have you got to have one hell of a football guru that can look at Jerry when he was at New Hampshire and say, "Hey, listen, I think this kid can be a hell of a NFL defensive back." Like you don't take somebody that has rushed for this many yards as a running back, only known running back, and say, I think we can convert him and he can be one of the best defensive backs in the NFL.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You got to have a great room to understand that.
Yeah. We're reaching the overtime portion of our show. Make sure you become a diehard at allchgo.com/diehard when you sign up. We appreciate everybody. It is a limited time offer right now. During our draft special deal, $36 here, limited time offer. Sign up, like I said, at allchgo.com/diehard, and appreciate all your support. And so, I mean, how do you think you would have done if you had just been a running back?
Oh, I would have been Hall of Famer. What are we even talking about? It's my natural position is running back.
Yeah.
It would have been great, but I mean, now I just at that moment I had to steal the ball to become a running back.
Like looking back, like, are you happy that happened because of how your career turned out?
Yeah, I mean, look, looking back at it all, I mean, I'm extremely grateful for how it all transpired and how it all worked out. There will be that big what if, because obviously I was a running back, and it would have been amazing to bring that talent from New Hampshire to the pros. I felt like that was just my natural position, and it's something that I just know the best. But I had a switch, I had a change, and playing with guys like Lance Briggs made it so much easier for me to just adapt to the defensive scheme and be productive.
Yep. All right. Well,
I wish Chip Kelly would let you play both sides of the ball. All right. I wish you could have been a DB and running back in college like Travis Hunter right now, right?
That would have been fun.
Heisman. That would have been your story, is Heisman. All right. So final segment here of the day, and we've been waiting for this. This is a new segment here we're introducing to the program, and that is presented by Circa Sportsbook. Make sure you download your new bookie today at circasports.com. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. But this new segment from Circa Sports is called Da Bets. My number one pick for where I'm going to go with my bets for the future. You know where I'm going with this. Plus 1,000 to win the NCAA tournament and be the NCAA champions of men's basketball. That's right. Your Purdue Boilermakers, Lance Briggs. They picked up Oscar Clough. here from South Dakota State. They just picked up yesterday Omer Meyer out there from Tel Aviv. Number 1 international prospect, number 1 transfer portal prospect coming over to add to Trey Kaufman-Renn, Fletcher Lawyer, and Braden Smith, who's going to win National Player of the Year. I know you are befuddled.
Are you kidding me? The number 1 recruiting class is down in the Southwest, buddy. It's the University of Arizona Wildcats. Yeah. All right? They're going to do something that hasn't been done since the Wildcats did it in 97. All right? Someone west of Texas will be winning the national championship very soon.
Yeah, Mike Bibby and Miles Simon, right?
Yep.
Miles Simon. Those were the good old days. What, Richard Jefferson too?
Yes.
Yeah, Jefferson was there.
See, I know my history.
There's a lot of guys. They weren't on that 97 team, but they came a little bit after.
Yeah, well, that's called ancient history, and we are living in the now.
A lot of people weren't born then.
And Purdue is going to win the national championship here next year. So that wraps things up here for our Da Bets here segment, and we appreciate Circa Sportsbook as always, and shout out to Zoom here as we introduce this new segment, and we'll roll things along and we'll have more fun with it as the summer progresses. So make sure you download your new bookie today at circasports.com. So I think that wraps things up here. Ran a little bit over, definitely got into some deep talk on contract extensions and your story, obviously, of how you got into the NFL. That was really good stuff, and we really appreciate your guys' story. And look forward to next week where the Bears will be on the clock at this exact moment, and we can stop talking about the hypotheticals and we can just find out once and for all what the Chicago Bears are going to do, and we'll have our answers of what this team will look like, and we can start looking ahead to minicamp. The Bears actually next week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, practice at Hallis Hall, and that'll be covered by us and CHGO Bears. And so there's a lot of things to get to next week. Assistant coaches talking this week. Yes, sir.
Braggs, listen, all I ask, no matter what happens in the draft for you guys that are over there and the rest of the Chicago Bears fans, contain your excitement, please. Contain your excitement. The goal is not to win the offseason. It's to win the actual season. That's all.
Well, I can tell you right now, and you're going to be here too as well, Lance, and I know that the infectiousness of Bears fans and their excitement, it's just going to overtake you. And when the Bears draft Ashton Genty at 10 and the house is going wild, you're going to have, we're going to have champagne bottles spraying and just
that's
going.
That's the only thing that's going to overtake you is all that free liquor.
Oh, well, we all look forward to it. So, yeah, make sure you head out to our draft party, allchgo.com/events. So thank you to Lance Briggs, as always, doing the show here from Arizona. And then, of course, thank you to Jerry Azumah coming into the studio here tonight for CHGO Bears After Dark. Never mind the sunlight behind us. We appreciate you guys tuning in. And we will see you here next week for the draft. And then we'll come back for CHGO Bears After Dark, once we get another week past the draft. So thanks again to Steven for producing. Thank you to all that have tuned in. Hit that like button on your way out and make sure you subscribe to the channel. And always keep your head up and always
bear down.
Yes, sir.
We all silly like the mayor.